All Across Perspectives is using our perspective of concepts, ideas, and latest news events that are reshaping the world that you live in to educate and inform so that the average person can prosper in this ever-changing world.
You can't handle the truth.
Note, under Section 107 of the Copyright Act of 1976, allowance is made fair use for the purpose such as news reporting, educational, criticism, informative, and more. No copyright infringement intended. This video falls under the fair use guidelines. Any attempt to claim falsely the Digital Millennium Copyright Act, better known as DMCA, is illegal and will be countered. Hello, this is All Across Perspectives Worldly Financial News Report for the week of September 7th, and I'm your host, Everett Day. These are the exciting events that we will cover today. We have heard about NESARA GESARA. Are we starting to see a full play out of the policies to make this a reality? This question and many more will be answered on this week's edition of All Across Perspectives Worldly Financial News Report. And as always, we start the call with some informative videos to share while others join the live call.
Italy. It's a different leadership. But you know that the city of Caesarea in Israel doesn't belong to Israel. It belongs to the Rothschilds. There's so much things going on in history that people very soon are going to wake up and see the truth. Now I can tell you jaws are going to be down because 99% of what you know is not the truth. The truth has been hidden over your head. I had to watch The Matrix a few days ago to see, wow, genius! The truth that is over our face, we don't see nothing. You think you see the truth, you don't see nothing. Rome is the Egypt, or I should say the future Egypt. Who is this government? Who is this kingdom that is called Romi? It's a group of men that you don't even know who they are. Most people don't even know who they are. And this is a group of men that got together many years ago with one agenda that is called a new world order. Every government in the world has a secret government behind it that run the show. If you think that the president, the prime minister, you think they're doing it, they're puppets. They control armies, nations, governments, all the money in the world, all the richest families in the world, Rothschilds and the Rockefellers and anyone that somehow made money within a very short span of time has to be part of it. And you think that Mike Zuckerberg owns Facebook? He's a puppet. Facebook was created for their manipulation. Same thing with YouTube, same thing with WhatsApp and Instagram and Netflix and everything. World War I was designed by them. World War II, designed by them. Federal Reserve, which people think belongs to the American government. Doesn't belong to the government even. It's a private organization. NASA, CIA, the assassination of JFK, who was the first one who ever talked about it, got a bullet in his head. Needless to say, the attack on the Twin Towers, it wasn't bin Laden. All one big agenda because they needed to go to Afghanistan. You know why? To put pipes. It's all one big show. We've been fooled and millions of Americans are cheering. We're going to a war against terror. No, you've been fooled. And you think it's different in Israel? You know that Israel was built by the Freemasons, by the way, by the Zionists. There's nothing here kosher. Who approved the Declaration of Israel? The United Nations, of course. An organization of peace and unity, and we love all. It's a terror organization built by the New World Order. All the founders of the country of Israel are Freemasons. Italy.
This summer showed us that there is simply no room or no time for nostalgia. Battle lines for a new world order based on power are being drawn right now. So yes, Europe must fight for its place in the world, in which many major powers are either ambivalent or openly hostile to Europe, a world of imperial ambitions and imperial wars, a world in which dependencies are ruthlessly weaponized. And it is for all these reasons that a new Europe must emerge.
Today, I am making it official. Starting January 1st, 2026, the NESARA GESARA framework goes into full effect. For too long, the American people and the people of the world have been trapped in a broken financial system controlled by banks and manipulated by the elites. That ends now. I can confirm that redemption centers have received their official notification and have accepted the NESARA GESARA gold coin. This is no longer speculation. This is law. By signing this order, we are recognizing the coin as the foundation of the new financial era. It is gold-backed, incorruptible, and created for the people. The reset is coming, and nothing can stop it. January 1st, 2026 will be remembered as the day freedom began.
Let's go back to NESARA GESARA, because I got a lot of things we're going to go into that are taking place that we can actually talk about of these things. All right. So we talked about this before. I just brought it up for the sake of art, or not for the sake of conversation. It says NESARA is the most groundbreaking reformation to sweep not only the United States of America, but the whole planet, thus GESARA in its entire history. The act does away with the Federal Reserve Bank. Everybody see where I'm going? We're getting rid of the Federal Reserve Bank. We're going to touch on that. The IRS. We've already talked about the fact that we will not be filing taxes very shortly. I think 26 in this next year, 2026, we're not going to have to file taxes. We'll know more soon. The shadow government. Okay, so like I said, you're seeing Trump get rid of a lot of people in certain areas. And we've seen gerrymandering. We've seen the new redlining that's taking place in Texas. Everybody see this, okay? And much more. It says NESARA implements the following changes. Zeroes out all credit card, mortgage, and other bank debt due to illegal banking and government activities. This is the Federal Reserve's worst nightmare, a jubilee or a forgiveness of debt. It abolishes the income tax, okay? Abolishes the IRS. Employees of the IRS, listen to this, will be transferred into the Treasury National Sales Tax area. Have we talked about this? Yes, we have. Creates a 14% flat rate, non-essential, new items only sales tax revenue for the government. So when you purchase a new house or a car, you're paying 14% on top of that. I've heard 20%, so my assumption is if it goes to 20, then that might be that 6% that might go to states. I don't know yet, okay? Everybody see where I'm going. It says here, in other words, food and medicine will not be taxed, nor will used items such as old homes. Okay, increases benefits to senior citizens. Everybody heard they're talking about restructuring Medicare. Everybody see what's going on. These are the things. I'm not advocating for anybody. I'm just trying to explain to you what is taking place, okay? It says returns constitutional law to all courts and legal matters, because right now, if when you go to court, it's maritime court. That's why when you have to go through, you have to open up the panels or whatever, and you walk in, you're stepping onto a ship. Everybody understand this. This is interesting to see where this is going. These are things we were never taught, okay? It says reinstates the original title of nobility amendment. Guys, you're going to get back your actual person. All right. Establishes new presidential and congressional elections within 120 days after NESARA's announcement. Now, keep in mind, are we going to have a celebration in July of next year? I think it's 250 something years anniversary of our country. Everybody see where I'm going, okay? And I'm not done. Now it says the interim government will cancel all national emergencies and return us back to constitutional law, monitors elections and prevents illegal election activities or special interest groups. That's why he said no more mail-in ballot, no more mail-in voting. You have to be there in person. Now, my understanding is one of the things they can do with crypto and blockchain is that you will be able to vote by your your token or your wallet or whatever the case, because you're only able to have one in that aspect. Everybody see where this is going? I'm just trying to explain to you because I'm seeing it all play out. I'm watching everything and I'm just like, okay, this makes sense. Okay, it says the interim government will cancel all It says the interim government will cancel all national emergency, return us back to constitutional law. Monitors elections, prevents illegal election activities. All right. It says next, creates a new U.S. Treasury rainbow currency backed by gold, silver, and platinum, precious metals, ending the bankruptcy of the United States, initiated by Franklin Roosevelt in 1933. Forbids the sale of American birth certificate records as chattel property bonds by the U.S. Department of Transportation. So you're going to get back your sovereignty. Everybody see where I'm going with this? Because right now you got that straw man. We've talked about these things, okay? It says initiates the new U.S. Treasury bank system in alignment with constitutional law. Eliminates the Federal Reserve System. Now listen to this. It says during the transition period, the Federal Reserve will be allowed to operate side by side of the U.S. Treasury for 1 year in order to remove all Federal Reserve notes from the money supply. So the dollar will be gone. Okay? This is why I say you cannot be in a better place because you're already positioned in the transition. Just because you don't see it today does not mean it's not going to happen. You're early. Everybody see where I'm going. Restores financial privacy. Retrains all judges and attorneys in constitutional law, ceases all aggressive U.S. government military actions worldwide. So we just changed the Pentagon to the Department of War. Everybody seeing what's taking place, okay? We're coming back. We're now, because we were the world's police. We were forcing people to do things. Otherwise, we would take them to war. We're not being involved in that anymore, okay? We're focusing on our own country, our own sovereignty. Everybody see where this is going. Now, it says ceases all aggressive U.S. government military actions worldwide. We're not going to police anybody anymore in that aspect. Establishes peace throughout the world. Releases enormous sums of money of humanitarian purposes. Okay? Now, keep all this in mind as we go through the rest of this day. Everybody with me? Now, next thing I got, it says here, Ray Dalio says crypto is now an alternative currency that has supply limited. So all things being equal, if the supply of dollar money rises and or demand for it falls, that would likely make crypto an attractive alternative currency. You can't make this stuff up. All right, so I'm just gonna keep on rolling. I'm just gonna record the entire night, guys. I'm not gonna pause anymore, because there's sometimes we get into conversations and I'm like, oh, I really wish I had got that on tape. So let's keep on going. If you got comments, questions, or anything like that, or anything I'm sharing, please step in. Let's have these conversations because your world is changing around you right now. And if you're not prepared, you are going to be confused, lost, dismayed, bamboozled, hoodwinked, what other word I can come up with, okay? All right, so I'm excited tonight, guys. I really am, because I'm gonna hit you with some heavy stuff. I mean that, because then everything's happening right now. Everything is happening right now. Okay, so let's keep on moving. The next thing I got for you, it says right here, breaking, President Trump stuns America by saying 15 trillion will be invested in America, but exposes radical judges for trying to stop it. Guys, this might be that $15 trillion sovereign wealth fund or trust that they have found. Everybody see where I'm going, okay? He said that, it says here, I don't care what anyone says, it's time to ignore the courts. So Donald Trump posted this, more than $15 trillion will be invested in the USA, a record. Much of this investment is because of tariffs. If a radical left court is allowed to terminate these tariffs, almost all of this investment and much more will be immediately canceled. In many ways, we would become a third world nation with no hope of greatness again. Time is of the essence. Okay, that was on the 31st of August. Let's keep moving. stock market hit hard as U.S. faces $120 billion tariff refund, okay? Because the courts turned around and said that his tariffs were illegal. Pay attention to what's going on, guys. If we can't get it through, there's a chance we won't have any money. Everybody see what's happening, all right? It says stocks fell sharp Tuesday as markets reacted to a court ruling questioning President Trump's tariffs and mounting concerns over the nation's swelling debt. Okay, analysts warned that billions of tariff refunds could destabilize government finances, while businesses cautioned that prices may soar. Treasury yields spiked to multi-year highs, amplifying fears of tighter financial conditions. Okay, so let's keep moving. And now we got Scott Bessent. I want you guys to hear this.
You have
okay, so it says tariffs are working. Here we go.
And they will say that the tariffs are a hidden tax on the consumers here in the country. But give us the reality.
If they're so bad, and the American consumers paying them, why do we hear the European companies or the Chinese companies or the Chinese complaining about tariffs if it's all being borne by the American people? It's just not happening. When I talk about President Trump's economic policy, I describe it as a three-legged stool: trade, tax, and deregulation. So either we take in the income, or the companies bring their factories back to the U.S. And I can tell everyone, he's equally happy with both. He likes the income, but he wants to reindustrialize. And these jobs that are coming back, studies have shown that the way to middle-class prosperity is through good-paying, precision manufacturing jobs. And when I look at these companies that want to come in, that it's incredible.
Well,
Okay, so let's keep on moving. Next thing I got, it says here, well, that sucks. Canada looks like a U.S. win. All right, so remember we had the tariff war that was going on in Canada. Canada rescinded and said, you win, Now, it says here, Ontario banned U.S. alcohol sales in April. Today, Canadian Crown Royal bottler announced it's shutting down its Ontario plant and moving operations to the U.S. Okay? This is on the 1st of September. Let's keep on moving. Bessent says Trump may declare a national housing emergency this fall to address soaring prices and shrinking supply. Everybody, we got a lot going on, so let's keep going. It says here, U.S. Department of Commerce, okay, is issuing all its stats on the blockchain, guys. Everybody hear me. The commerce. So now they're putting everything on the blockchain. The only chain that's going to be on is the XRP ledger. So let's take a listen here. So,
two more things. The Department of Commerce is going to start issuing its statistics on the blockchain because you are the crypto president, and we are going to put out GDP on the blockchain so people can use the block.
Everybody see where I'm going? Everything will be digital. Everything. Okay? Some master ledgers. All right, so it says here on October 21st, 2025, the Federal Reserve will host its Payments Innovation Conference in DC, openly discussing the future of money and payments. This means blockchain tokenization and stablecoins are now officially on the Fed's agenda. Keep in mind, guys, the Federal Reserve is a private entity. It is not a government-based entity. Everybody see where I'm going. So now they're turning around and they're saying, okay, we're coming in. At the same time, the Clarity Act is locking into place. CFTC takes the lead on digital commodities. Clear legal definitions for blockchain. Like I told you, they have to define it. They have to make it legal. Everybody see where I'm going. It's here. Digital commodity and payment stablecoin. KYC and AML compliance baked in, filtering out bad actors while giving green light to regulated DeFi. It says, I wonder why blockchain project BSA compliant on and their wallet is a KYC and AML oversight with a fully regulated decentralized DeFi leading platform ready for credit union, banks, and institutions. And that is already plugged into FedNow with the official ISO API plugins, okay? Everybody see where I'm going? I'm just, like I said, I'm here to just share information It says, this isn't random. The system is pivoting to rails that are transparent, compliant, ready for institutional money. What we've been building toward for years is becoming a reality. The old guard is being forced out. The old financial system is being kicked out. The whole usury slavery system that we were running on, they're getting them out of here. Okay, and now, and know what you hold has never been more important. So it just talks about it here. It says this is a Board of Governors Federal Reserve. Okay, they have an innovation conference on the 21st of October. Okay, like I said, I got a lot, so I'm gonna keep rolling. All right, now we got the Federal Reserve has announced they will host a conference on payments innovation on Tuesday, October 21st. Okay, like I said, if I find something, if I got two things, I'll share. All right, next thing I got, it says here, Bessent calls to take power away from the Fed. Okay, didn't I just read NESARA GESARA? They said the Treasury would actually, the Fed would fold into the Treasury. Everybody see where I'm going with this, okay? You guys can comment. Let's keep on going. But I just want you to see this stuff. The Federal Reserve must be relieved of its duties regulating the nation's banks. Treasury Secretary Bessent wrote in an essay published on Friday. Okay, he wrote in the Wall Street Journal that the central bank has veered away from what he described as its core mission of promoting full employment, stable prices, and moderate long-term interest rates. Okay, so the Fed now regulates, lends to, and sets a profitability calculus for the banks it oversees, an unavoidable conflict that blurs accountability and jeopardizes independence. There must also be an honest, independent, nonpartisan review of the entire institution, including monetary policy, regulation, communication, staffing, and research. All right, let's keep rolling. I'm excited, guys, because these are the things we've been talking about. Now, the next thing, breaking, Treasury Secretary Bessent will begin interviewing candidates for the next Fed chair this Friday. What if the next one in the chair is Brad Garlinghouse? Imagine XRP with its own monetary policy. All right, I'm just sharing, but we got to look at this stuff. All right, so I got the next one. I want you guys to see this. It says Trump's Federal Reserve nominee says he will not leave White House post if confirmed because he's gonna be under the Treasury. Everybody see where this is going. Pay attention. This is, like I said, guys, it's a shell game. It's a three-card money. Just look.
Following another key hearing on Capitol Hill today where the future of the Federal Reserve took center stage.
President Trump's nominee to fill an open Federal Reserve governor position testified before a Senate committee today. Stephen Myron, who is a close Trump advisor, has been critical of the Fed. But today he repeatedly said that the independence of the central bank is crucial. If confirmed, Myron would be one of the officials voting on future interest rate decisions. So let's bring in NBC News senior business correspondent Christine Romans. Christine, first off, Myron's loyalty to President Trump was a pretty key theme throughout this hearing. What did he say in response to that, and why does he want the job?
Look, he has been an architect of the president's tariff strategy. He thinks that tariffs will not be inflationary and that they are a good part of the president's move to try to reorder, the global trading system. He has been a critic of the Federal Reserve. And quite interestingly, he says he would like to stay on as his job as the president's chief economic advisor, the Council of Economic Advisor running that group, but sort of take a leave while he does this, which raises some conflict of interest questions overall. But he said that he believes in the independence of the Fed. He said that he would be an arbiter of that, but he also said the president deserves to be able to say what he thinks about the Fed. So it looks like he's satisfied Republicans on the committee who are very concerned about the independence of the Fed. And it could be that he can get on that board, potentially the Fed board, before the next meeting.
Guys, next thing I got, it says here, President Trump says tariffs could replace federal income tax. If that's true, that's massive liquidity and could be rocket fuel for XRP. All right. So I just want you guys I'm reading all this stuff, but let's keep going. Listen.
We talked about how historic these tariffs have been, bringing revenue, additional revenue for our country. You've also mentioned before they could possibly replace federal income tax.
It's possible.
Do you think that
someday it's possible? It used to be. So if you go back to 1913 is when they ended tariffs. We were the richest ever from 1850. It was all tariffs. We didn't have income taxes. From 1850 to 1913. In the 1887s, about 1887, they had the Great National Tariff Act. And it was a group of people that got together because our country was so rich, they didn't know what to do with the money. We had so much money, they didn't know what to do. It was a group of very prominent people that were set up to hand out money to everybody because we were the richest we ever were. Proportionately, we were in 1887, around that time, even in 1913. We ended them in 1913. How did that work out? And then we went to the income tax system, and then we had the Depression. And by the way, a lot of people try and say that, oh, tariffs with the Depression. No, they ended in 1913, and then we went to income tax, and then in 1929, you had the Depression. They did try and bring it back in 1931-32, but the Depression had long started, and this poor, beautiful nation was gone. It was gone. We suffered for 25 years. It took 25, 30 years to really recover from the Depression. And we don't ever want to see that happen again. The tariffs are vital to the success of this country. When I say I ended 7 wars, at least half of those.
Okay, so let's just keep on rolling. Next thing I got, guys, says here, we're going to talk about the Clarity Act, okay? It says the Clarity Act will do for digital assets what the Telecommunications Act in 1996 did for the internet.com era, okay? This is a transition that's happening, guys. You say, I don't know about you, but I'm excited because we caught it. We caught it.
We passed the Clarity Act in the House before we left for August. We showed overwhelming bipartisan support. Why? Because we know we need the United States to be the leader in Web3 technology, and that means we need a regulatory framework for digital assets here in the United States. This is possibly the most important piece of legislation that the Senate's going to pass in a bipartisan manner later this year. I'd love to see the Senate bring up the Clarity Act again as passed by the House with overwhelming support. And if they do that, I think what we have an opportunity to do is cement the U.S. as the global leader in the digital assets space. This is incredibly important at a period of time where the United States dominated Web 2. It led to big tech. I don't love all aspects of big tech, but at least they're domiciled in the United States of America. Web 3 is an opportunity to democratize the internet and make sure that that innovation and development is occurring in the United States, providing appropriate consumer protections. And if the Senate acts on the Clarity Act as passed by the House, we have an opportunity to truly unleash the golden age of digital assets here in the United States and maintain the United States as the world leader in the digital assets, but also importantly in the broader tech space as we see this evolution from Web 2 into Web 3.
Right. Well, this is Holocaust Perspective, Worldly Financial News Report for the week of September 7, 2025. I'm your host every day. Strive to be your best in each and every situation. Leave the result as it is because it's the result, and find a way to raise your vibration so high that the lights flicker, matrix glitches, and negatives, dormant energies all transmute just because you stepped into the room. I got time. Have a great evening, and I'll see each and every one of you at the top.
Thank you as usual.